So here we are, day 4, and today what we're going to focus on are 3 of our star blocks, our Star 60, our rapid fire Lemoyne Star, and our Wedge Star. And here's my challenge to you modern quilters out there. How about you try and take these tools and incorporate them into your next modern quilt design? I'd love to see that happen. And remember, if you need more information or would like to see more about how these tools actually work, visit our website and watch those free educational videos. You know, if we were at a real live quilt show right now, fans of Studio 180 Design would come into my booth and the first thing they would say is, "Hi Deb," and the second thing they would say is, "What's new?" Well, we are so excited to introduce to you our newest tool, the Star 60 tool. This is a tool that I designed to bring our philosophy of oversizing into the world of 60-degree piecework. The instructions will talk about how to make all the different shapes that are normally involved with 60-degree piecework. The primary shape that we use in so many of our projects is the Star 60 unit, and this shape is a triangle, and it contains a diamond and 2 side triangles, and you'll cut those shapes, the diamonds and the side triangles, out of strips using the guidelines that are on the tool to create units that are going to be slightly oversized, allowing me then to take the tool and the patented guidelines that are on there and trim that unit to exactly the right size and the right shape, so that when I go to build a 60-degree project, everything is going to fit together beautifully. And rest assured that we don't just deal with the Star 60 unit. We also cover how to cut companion triangles that can be teamed up with the Star 60 unit. We also address how to cut plain hexagons, how to cut half hexagons. Those are shapes that you'll see used frequently in various 60-degree projects. And like so many of our other star tools, the Lemoyne Star and the Wedge Star, this packaging is also the set of directions. And on the back, we have a free bonus project, and we encourage you to give that a try. That's a project that you can make in any of the 17 size offerings that are on the tool. You can use one of those middle sizes to create a nice wall hanging. If you use the largest size, it'll actually make a full-size quilt. And for those of you who love to do miniatures, we've got you covered there too. So the Star 60 tool, we're so excited to share with you. You can see how we create all those shapes by watching our free online video tutorials, and hang around and see some of the projects that we've already created using our Star 60 tool. Now, the types of tools that I've developed fall into 2 categories, either the fundamental tools or the rapid fire kind of bucket list star tools. And the fundamental tools are tools that have been developed to work with basic building blocks, basically squares and rectangles that are divided by seams, one seam or multiple seams. And these are the building blocks that you use when you're creating hundreds of different kinds of pieced quilting blocks or pieced quilts. And the rapid fire tools deal with more bucket list type projects: Hunter Star, Lemoyne Star, Wedge Star, and Star 60. These are projects that we always wish we could do, but may be too challenging, especially if you happen to be a rookie. I've developed processes that streamline the construction and make it very efficient to create them. And I brought the philosophy that I bring to all of the Studio 180 projects into those rapid fire tools of making your pieces oversized on purpose, so that after the building is done, you get to trim things down and clean them up so that you get better building blocks, you get better blocks, and you're going to build better quilts. Now the next tool I'd like to introduce you to is my second rapid fire tool. It's my rapid fire Lemoyne Star. And if any of you have ever tried to make a Lemoyne Star block, you know that it's pretty challenging, and most of the time you're given templates for the diamonds, for the squares, and the triangles, and asked to build those with Y-seam constructions. Well, a couple of years ago, I developed a process that allows me to build the Lemoyne Stars with strip piecing, and also to build them slightly oversized and trim them down and clean them up. When you purchase the tool, it looks like this. Realize that the packaging is also your set of instructions, so don't throw those away. And when you work through the process, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how you proceed. The first decision is the size. The tool does 10 sizes. It starts at 3-inch and goes to 12-inch. I probably wouldn't start this small. I might make a 6-inch block for my first attempt. But once you know the size you want to make, you're going to need 4 strips. You need 2 strips that become the diamond points and 2 strips that become the background points. And you strip piece those pieces together, layer the sets, cut through them at a 45-degree angle, make a second cut to each of these sections, a vertical cut, and once you've done that, you've created all the shapes that you need so that when you add the triangles to the edges, you actually end up building a Lemoyne triangle. Now, this shape is oversized. That's on purpose. And that's where the magic of the patented lines on here come into play. These guidelines will line up with the seams that are already sewn and already pressed to trim that diamond point to exactly the right size to build a 6-inch block or a 3-inch block or a 12-inch block. But I'll trim the edges, and I'll do that for all the points so that when I pick up 2 of the points to sew them together, well, the edges are going to line up. Yeah, because you just trimmed them. And you know what else is going to happen? That seam that used to be a challenging Y-seam construction nests and matches beautifully so that when you stitch, you actually end up creating a square. It's on the straight of grain, and then all you need to do to create your Lemoyne Star block is put those 4 squares together well, and you're going to have a beautiful Lemoyne Star block that's still oversized. You can probably see it. It doesn't look so pretty around the edges now, but when I come back with my favorite trim down tool, the Tucker trimmer, and clean up those edges, I will end up with a block that's exactly the right size with all my points in place. And I do this in a matter of minutes instead of hours and days to create my Lemoyne Star blocks. On the back of the set of instructions, we have a bonus project. And that bonus project will require that you test all the different sizes that are on the tool. 3-inch, 4-inch, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All those sizes are in this sampler. Put them together, you've got a nice little wall quilt. But you know what? If Lemoyne Stars are on your bucket list, do not hesitate to get this tool. You are going to be falling in love with Lemoyne Stars, and you should realize they're very addicting. So pick up the Lemoyne Star at your local quilt shop or come directly to us and we'll get it in your hand as soon as possible. For those of you who are fans of my Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star tool, you should know about our technique sheets that we've developed for that specific tool. There are 7 of them in all, and they range in difficulty from medium to a little bit challenging, but these are looks that you can give to your Lemoyne Stars that are totally different than the regular Lemoyne Stars that you can make using the Lemoyne Star tool. And I'd like to take a minute and share those with you, but realize that before you jump into the technique sheets, you should make sure that you're pretty familiar with the tool and the basic workings and construction processes that are associated with the rapid fire construction techniques before you jump into these so that you get success when you're done. But it's a pretty amazing, some of the things that we've created using the Lemoyne Star tool. One of the first ones we developed was to use the back end of the tool, and it's called fussy cut Lemoynes. And you can see that each of those diamonds are fussy cut out of there. That one's medium in difficulty. This is a technique sheet that we call Lemoynes as triangles. And we use those triangles not just to create blocks, but we can also use them for setting. And how you do that and how you create all these different variations are not only on our technique sheets, but they're also on our videos. So if you can take a few minutes to check that out, you can see how they're built before you invest in them. This is a technique that we call strip piece Lemoynes, and it's not hard at all, but it gives your Lemoynes a totally different look. This one's called Starburst Lemoyne. It's one of the new kids on the block. So that's another one of our technique sheets. This is one of my favorites. It's called Banded Lemoynes. Now this one has a 5-star difficulty. So be familiar, be well-grounded, and you'll have better success with this one, the Banded Lemoyne, this one, the Liberty Lemoyne, and another one of our favorites, which is called Blazing Lemoyne, where each of those diamonds is actually constructed of 4 smaller diamonds. And of course, I'm going to do all this with strip piecing and efficient construction methods so that you can get them done in a hurry. Now, not only do the technique sheets talk you through the processes, but they also give you the numbers to be able to create these blocks in lots of different sizes. And, you know, once you have some of these techniques in your hip pocket, this Blazing Lemoyne is what you see in the quilt that's behind me, but I can take that as a 5-star difficulty rating and actually turn it into a much easier block by making half of the block hard and half of the block a little bit easier. We also have a couple of patterns that go into other types of Lemoynes. This one is called Flying Swallows. This one is definitely challenging, but the end result is fantastic. And this one is called Water Lily. We just released this in the last year or so, and it looks a whole lot more challenging than it is. But again, make sure you're familiar with the basics before you jump into this. But add these technique sheets to your lineup, to your library, so that you can give your Lemoyne Stars that extra special look the next time you're creating something with the Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star tool. Now the next tool I'd like to introduce you to is one of our newer tools. It's called the Wedge Star. And this is a tool that creates blocks that look like that, and you're thinking, wow, they look very similar to the Lemoyne Star blocks. And you're right, they do. They're closely related. They both make star blocks made with diamonds, but you'll notice when you look at the Lemoyne Star block that the diamonds are kind of tipped off that north-south axis, where with the Wedge Star, those diamonds run true north and south and east and west. And there's a whole bunch of designs out there, quilt designs, that require this scenario, which is why I created the Wedge Star tool. Now this tool has 22 different size offerings in it. And like the Lemoyne Star tool, the packaging is actually your set of directions. Now we have a full-length video on how to work with all the shapes in there, but basically what's going to happen is you are going to create these by creating wedges. And those wedges have a diamond and 2 small wedges. And like everything, I'm going to make those wedges slightly bigger than they need to be so that once the sewing and the pressing is done, I'm going to be able to use the diagonal guidelines that are on the tool to trim that down to a precision size for one of the 22 sizes that are on the project and build those blocks first into octagons and then turn them into squares by adding oversized triangles around the corners that are then trimmed and cleaned up so that the blocks are all the right size, and I'm going to have points where I need to have my points. In the set of directions, we actually have directions for making 3 different types of blocks. We have directions for making the traditional Wedge Star block. We have directions for creating a much simpler type block using just large wedges. And then we have instructions for making a mixed block that contains both large wedges and diamond wedges. And we use all three of those blocks in the free bonus project that's included on the set of directions. So you will simply choose your size, cut the correct number of shapes, and build your block to either very large Wedge Star project, which is just this, made with the largest 24-inch size, or all the way down to miniature size. I wouldn't start here. I'd probably start somewhere in the middle so that you can test drive the tool. So Wedge Star, if you're looking at these types of kaleidoscope projects and you're thinking about making them, investigate this Wedge Star tool, get it in your toolbox, and you'll be so happy. Enjoy the quilt show of some of the quilts we've created in just the last couple of months using the Wedge Star tool. You know, for years, I've been talking about my Tucker Trimmer 3 as a larger version of the original Tucker Trimmer. And that is true. But did you realize that this is the perfect companion tool to go along with my Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star and Wedge Star? What makes this tool unique are the diagonal guidelines that are on the tool that allow you to quickly and easily center the tool over a block and give you an accurate trim without having to do any math. For example, if I were trimming down a Wedge Star block, now this is going to be a 7-inch finished block, meaning I need to trim it to 7.5 inches. I don't have to think about what is the midpoint of 7.5 inches. All I have to do on my tool is simply find the crosshairs. The common diagonal is here. I need to trim it to 7.5, find that diagonal this way, and when those two meet, that's what's going to go in the middle of my block. So when I place this over top, place the common diagonal and the 7.5 inch diagonal crosshair, it's going to go right in the middle, and then I do a little refinement and make sure that the diagonal crosshairs go right through the points of the Wedge Star, making it easy for me to trim that edge. If you happen to be right-handed, that trim happens in the upper right-hand corner. If you happen to be left-handed, you would simply rotate that tool, do the same alignment with the half circle in the upper left-hand corner. So it's an easy trim and an easy tool to use depending on whether you're right or left. Now I did mention that the tool is also appropriate companion for the Lemoyne Star. When you do the Lemoyne Star, you're not going to have diamond points. What you're going to have are seam lines. So this is a 9.5 inch block. When I place that on my table, again on the tool, what I'll look for is the common diagonal and the 9.5 diagonal. That crosshair is what's going to be placed over the center of the tool to center the tool, and simply line up the diagonals on the seam lines of the Lemoyne Star and make your trim. For a perfect size block, all the points are being preserved and it's ready to go. But you know, not only do I use it with the Lemoyne and the Wedge Star, I use this as a trim down tool when I'm making applique blocks because I always make my background bigger, and this is the tool that I use to trim it down and clean it up. Finding the center of my applique, match it with the center crosshair here. I use this tool anytime I would be trimming down a machine embroidery pattern. Some machine embroidery patterns have natural diagonals. That's a perfect fit for this. But if you happen to have a machine embroidery pattern that is more floral, just mark the center. Line up the crosshairs with that center and you're going to have a centered block that's exactly the right size, much easier and much quicker than you can with other tools. So if you've been hesitating to put that Tucker Trimmer 3 in your toolbox, don't. And if you have it in your toolbox already, get it out and use it. You're going to be super pleased with the results that you're going to get with that tool in your hand. Thanks everyone for taking some of your valuable time to join us here at Studio 180 Design. And don't forget, we still have more to share with you over the next day or two coming up.